This is the Bahamas Northern Edition. Good evening, everybody. I'm Ricardo Lightborn. It's great to have you with us tonight. Our top story now, the Bahamas Telecommunications Company is seeing its equipment theft continues, which hampers the restoration efforts here on Grand Bahama. Tonight, executives are appealing to those responsible to cease and desist. Let's go to Megan Shepard for that story.
The Bahamas Telecommunications Company facing challenges as it continues its restoration efforts on Grand Bahama. Vice President of the Northern Bahamas, Talbot Colley, says that this theft is the biggest hindrance to operations.
It appears that the cables, our infrastructure, fiber and copper infrastructure, has been compromised in terms of somebody intentionally cutting the cables. Of course, that is of grave concern to us because Grand Bahama is one of the areas that has been devastated by Hurricane Matthew. And for someone or some persons to be engaged in activities counter to the restoration efforts is really troubling to us.
Now, this is not the first time that the company has been a victim of theft.
We have had, I don't know, a dozen or more occasions, almost 24 is more accurate, of this sabotage, this vandalism. And in terms of culprits cutting out entire cable runs, fiber runs, impacting the business community, the residential community, it's really a major issue and challenge for us at this time.
Senior Manager of Outside Plant, Elvis Bartlett, says that the most recent theft, which occurred this week on East Sunrise Highway, affected the entire eastern Grand Bahama.
That affected our restoration. The whole of eastern end from the Casuarina Bridge to Sweetens Key was out of service. The copper theft and the vandalism that we're having, it's setting us back from restoring the service. We're out there in the communities restoring service, but these incidents are really setting us back.
Colley says the Royal Bahamas Police Force is actively working with the corporation, and he is appealing to the general public to do its part.
Help us, BTC, in the restoration efforts. If you see suspicious behavior, for example, some customers have complained to us that we saw this bus, this vehicle, we had service, and then we saw this vehicle, this truck in the community, and then immediately when they left, our services were compromised. So we want to encourage citizens and well-wishers at large to keep an eye open.
Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
Thank you, Megan. Well, our hurricane restoration efforts are taking a bit longer than anticipated by Cable Bahamas as the cable, internet, and telephone service provider works to wrap up repairs on Grand Bahama. The director of the Northern Bahamas explains the delay. Let's go to Sabrina Brown.
Restoration efforts at Cable Bahamas continues some 2 months after the storm. Director at the Northern Bahamas, Edris Wilson Elliott, says they are close to 100% access to the network in terms of service restoration on Grand Bahama. But there is still work to be done.
Scope of the damage to the network and the plant was considerable, a lot more than we had anticipated or had initially assessed. And so right now we've still got quite a bit of work to be done in the Queens Cove area of Grand Bahama. We've still got quite a bit of work left to be done in Western Grand Bahama. Those are the two key and critical areas for us at the moment.
Elliott says Cable Bahamas experienced unforeseen challenges during its efforts to restore services to the island.
Quite a bit of our fiber network was considerably impacted by the storm. Most of our plant is aerial, but we do have pockets that are underground, and with the loss of the power poles, quite a bit of our fiber network came down. This is our main trunk fiber taking service along Queens Highway, the commercial district, and taking service into the western area of Grand Bahama.
Cable Bahamas had to bring in additional crews from affiliate companies to complete the work.
We brought in additional teams to assist with the reconstruction aspect of the network, and also the follow through in terms of drop and fiber repairs. So that's ongoing for us.
Elliott says repairs are being done in 4 phases. She says they are still working on the signal level balancing aspect of the plant.
Customers whose service might have been restored might still see degradation in their services, particularly the internet service, and that is because of the noise levels. Typical issues followed by a storm of this magnitude. And then, of course, we've still got the final phase of sweeping the areas one by one to just make sure that the signal levels are balanced and that we restore the network to pre-hurricane conditions.
The reconstruction work is expected to be completed by the end of this month, while the trouble calls and drop repair work should be completed by mid-January. Sabrina Brown, ZNS Network News.
And we can also tell you tonight that the Grand Bahama Port Authority releasing a statement outlining the overall cost to restore electricity to the island of Grand Bahama post-Hurricane Matthew. The statement also revealing that the cost to consumers will not be impacted.
According to the statement, the Grand Bahama Port Authority was able to review the costs incurred by the Grand Bahama Power Company in restoration of electricity following Hurricane Matthew. This review was carried out in accordance with the Electricity Regulatory Framework and Operating Protocol Agreement of 2013. The Port Authority disclosing that the total cost for restoration, including labor and materials, amounts to $27.5 million. The hurricane damage assessment summary provided by the power company included 1,362 damaged transformers, 2,025 damaged poles, 1,150 damaged brackets, 6,000 damaged insulators, and approximately 3 million feet of down conductor wire and 1,000 damaged arresters. Technical experts, 200 additional linemen plus local linemen work over 95,000 hours. According to the statement, the Port Authority's technical electricity regulation expert consultant from the U.S. spent last week in meetings with the power company's financial team in Freeport. Hurricane-related expenditure was examined in detail, and the Port Authority is fully satisfied that the relevant costs were properly incurred. Now the uninsurable costs have been approved by the GBPA and will be recovered over a 5-year period commencing January 1st, 2017. In the course of those meetings, port officials say they expressed a strong desire that such costs should not result in an increase in the cost of electricity to customers. Power officials concurred and submitted an application which outlined a 5-year plan to offset storm restoration costs through prudent cost management and fuel purchasing. In addition, the power company agreed to delay the previously approved Hurricane Self-Insurance Fund until Hurricane Matthew costs are fully recouped. Italia Hall, ZNS Network News.
In other news for you tonight, 7 F&M members of Parliament who moved to vote the no confidence in their party leader say that they are prepared to answer to charges set forth by the party's Executive Council. Well, tonight the executive of the party says that the F&M is dealing with the matter and is prepared to move forward. Let's go to Sabrina Brown.
Chairman of the Free National Movement's Grand Bahama Council, David Thompson, says out of the 7 members of Parliament who went against party leader Dr. Hubert Minnis, only Long Island MP Loretta Butler Turner was ratified as a candidate for the upcoming general election, a nomination he says she secured based on trust.
She solemnly promised her support for Dr. Minnis under F&M, and in turn was given the nomination for Long Island. She sought that from the leader under F&M because I believe she thought it was a valuable thing.
According to Thompson, Butler Turner deceived the party and must now face the consequences.
Having broken the deal as a deal breaker, the F&M has no choice but to accept that she has dishonored her word and the deal and take back our nomination for Long Island.
The executive member says despite the confusion caused by the 7 rebels, there can only be one leader in the party.
Either you are an F&M, you support our leader, or you are not, and you support some other organization, some other grouping, some other party.
He says the F&M remains focused and will continue its efforts to win the 2017 elections.
We are preparing our machinery. We are rolling out our candidates. We will continue this week to roll out candidates. We are hoping by the end of this year to have all of our candidates ratified to run, including a new candidate for Long Island.
Thompson says the F&M is planning to hold a rally in Grand Bahama sometime next week. Sabrina Brown, ZNS Network News.
And police are still looking for information for the whereabouts of 48-year-old Howard Garnett Thomas of East Indian Man Road, Freeport. Thomas is wanted for questioning on the charges of possession of dangerous drugs with the intent to supply. He is of dark complexion, average build, 160 pounds, and about 5 feet 8 inches tall. If you know the whereabouts of Garnett Thomas, you're asked to, in turn, tonight, call the police at 350-3152, 350-3123, 911, or 919. Still got a lot of news to go, so stay right there.